Batman Arkham City is often referred to as the best Arkham game in the entire quadrilogy, and is still hailed extremely highly by the entire community, even 10 years after its release. Even its critical reception at the time of its release was phenomenal, as it got 90s across the board, really showcasing how good this game truly was. Welcome to Eternal Talks, where I make reviews and video essay-ish content, so if you're interested in this type of content, consider subbing to the channel. Now let's see whether the game is still worth getting in 2021 by first talking about the narrative of the game. One of the large reasons as to why this game is considered as the best in the franchise is due to its narrative, which is so much more compelling, well written, and well executed than every other game in the series, in my personal opinion. The events of the game take place about a year and a half after the events of the first Arkham game, where Quincy Sharp has now become the mayor of Gotham City. Sharp used both closed facilities and bought a large section of Gotham's slums to create a gigantic open-ended prison named Arkham City. The facility is in the care of Hugo Strange, who's one of the game's main villains. Meanwhile, the game's other major villain, and is easily the better one, is of course the classic and incredibly voice acted Joker. There's also Ra's al Ghul, who works with Hugo Strange, but to me, when I think of the main villain of this game, or the most memorable one, it's always going to be the Joker, as in this game he had so much more involvement than he did in Asylum, which we only really saw him on screens and such, as instead much of the focus was centered on other characters in Batman's rogues gallery, such as Bane, Scarecrow, and Poison Ivy. The game's narrative is really well written, and some of the twists and different routes that the story takes throughout its runtime are utterly fantastic. And in general, although this game doesn't have that same level of incredible atmosphere that Asylum has, it made up for it due to its incredibly well written story, and the game does have a lot of good moments and scenes that could easily be some of the best in the series. One of those being the ending of the game, which was a shock and a different ending than anything I would have ever imagined. But once you start playing the game, the ending seems kind of inevitable. Quick note, let's talk about the game's soundtrack. It's fantastic. The music in this game is probably my favorite in the entire series, as it fits every scene and scenario so perfectly, and the vibes from the music match everything else in the game remarkably well, and even the main theme is such a joy to listen to, another great aspect of the game. All in all, this game's narrative excels in many aspects, and is easily my favorite narrative portrayed in the Arkham series, above all the rest in the franchise, and the soundtrack is so compelling and well done that it just elevates the story. When Batman Arkham Asylum first came out, it was the first of its kind to have the combat system now called a free flow combat system. Even today, the Arkham series has inspired large franchises and releases that have obviously taken large inspiration from the way that the combat in the Arkham series worked. A large contributing factor of that is Arkham City itself. Arkham City refined so much of the gameplay of Asylum and then perfected it, and it was the mainframe that would be used to make the combat even better in Arkham Knight. And overall, the gameplay was so much better than that of Asylum. There were so many small but also major changes that really revolutionized the gameplay of the Arkham series that would be carried on for the rest of its runtime. Arkham City, unlike Asylum, is an open world game, and again there's a lot of elements of stealth and using strategy to your advantage to take out foes in the city. Arkham City retains all the gadgets of Batman's arsenal that he had in Asylum, but there's now the line launcher and the Ultra Batclaw. Then there's more unique gadgets such as the cryptographic sequencer, which can track signals, and the line launcher can now be used as a tightrope, and the controls for the remote controlled batarangs have been much improved. There's a few more new gadgets that I don't want to say here, as you'll see the unique capabilities of the new gadgets if you do decide to pick this game up, but the gadgets really do have that Batman flair to it, and it just gives this game another level of authenticity to how we would envision Batman in all other media that it is featured in. Now the combat. The combat is the same free flow combat that was featured in Asylum, but it's been so refined and fixed up to the point that it almost feels like it has no flaws. It's so damn fluid, and the combat is so rhythmic that it's just a blast to fight thugs on the street. You'll often realize that you'll be gliding onto random enemies on the street and then be trying out different takedowns, combos, and different attacks that you learn throughout the game to do all sorts of different combos and such to take down your foes in awesome style. I love the combat, and I don't really know what else to say and how to explain it, because you really need to try out this type of combat for yourself to really understand how fluid and how much it just works. The Arkham style is easily one of my favorite combat styles in all of gaming, and you can see a lot of obvious inspiration taken from the combat in games such as Shadow of Mordor, and even in recent recent video games such as the Marvel Spider-Man series. The open world for this game is also really well done. You can glide fluidly around the city, finding Riddler trophies, going to the Joker's playground in the city, as well as the few really good side quests that this game offers in its pretty small but still dense with content open world environment. I really do like the open world. You can really feel that it's just a big prison for Gotham's criminals instead of a living and financially stable city. As the criminals roam the streets of the city, there's enemies everywhere. There really isn't anywhere safe in this big city, as all of it is inhabited by all of these criminals, and it's a really good atmosphere, but admittedly it's nowhere as good as the one that was in the previous game, Batman Arkham Asylum. Overall though, the gameplay is fantastic with this incredible combat and traversal mechanics, and the open world has been well crafted and overall complements all other aspects of the game in its entirety. If you haven't already played this game, all I can say is, what the hell are you doing? This game is fantastic and it holds up so damn well, and with some of the sale prices it has on Steam and the fact that it's now a part of the Return to Arkham collection, a collection that contains the first 2 games in the franchise, there's no excuse as to why you haven't already played this game. Go down, play it. If you enjoyed this video, let me know down below in the comments, and consider leaving a like on this video. If you bought the game because of this video, let me know as well. Anyway, that's all from me for today's video. Peace.